Alagaya camp in White Nile State, Hiba Morgan reports.
It's been a long journey from South Sudan, but Bushai and her family have made it to safety. She says fighting and hunger forced her to make the 10-day walk.
We would hear gunshots around us, so we fled to come here. Life was hard. There was little food.
Bushai and her family are one of the 150 families which the Sudanese Red Crescent says cross from South Sudan into Sudan every day. Aid agencies say more than 3 years of violence has affected half the country's population. They've faced food insecurity at best, at worst, famine and bereavement. More than 1.5 million people have left the country, creating Africa's largest refugee crisis. Many go to Sudan, the country from which they gained independence in 2011.
If South Sudan was a safe country with no fighting, we would have stayed. It's our country. But because of the fighting, people can't stay. We'd rather live in a place where we can survive with our kids.
The conflict between rival sections of the South Sudanese government started in 2013. A third of a million refugees have crossed into Sudan since then, more than 30,000 in the last 2 months. Fleeing to a country they gained independence from wasn't something South Sudanese envisioned less than 6 years ago. But the conflict at home has forced them to escape to Sudan, and they're wondering when, if ever, it will be safe for them to return home back in the south. More than 8 camps have opened in Sudan. Aid workers here say refugees arrive hungry and traumatized.
The refugees come in a terrible state. By the time they get used to the situation here, they're exhausted. Sometimes they would say they can still hear the sounds of gunshots. We've now reached our limit because we have more than 4,000 families and they keep coming.
And the conflict in South Sudan shows no signs of easing. That leaves the victims of the fighting with little choice but to leave their homes and head north, regardless of how full, how uncomfortable the camps are becoming.